Gilg Jew, Gilg J as Gilg Nerach.
Showed you Claare na Gael as shame a hartness issue a shaltige. This is Robert Cutting Carswell, Robert a Carslach.
Have you ever had tell about Bobby Bob?
And I'm here to present this programme, which is called Claare na Gael, and in which you'll hear a thread in the English language as CORNISH stai Elias Rilg, and you'll hear another thread in the Manx Gaelic, Chinyanamera, the mother tongue of ALVAN, the Isle of Man. As Bannacht and Jewish, we've been following the exploits of Samuel William Ryley, as told in his 1808 book, The Itinerant, or Memoirs of an Actor. The section of the book that deals with a 3-month visit he made to the Isle of Man with his wife Anne in 1795. I thought actually we'd finish it off this week, but it turns out, no, there's a bit more. There's actually a lot more, as I said. I've just concentrated on certain bits. There's actually quite a lot about his memoirs of what happened to him here in the island. Look, the Choliavura leis Lucy Weston ra siúl the Cardler, te Jane the Valley Cardler the Soucher, and Cheru le me Lunason. As te force marche de lure, ma saw ten Carek, Mina Murray, Gulmachs on Koshiach. We begin with a Manx traditional song sung by Bernard Caine, accompanied on harp by Charles Gard, contrasting then and now. Eisht as nish. Tashu geisteach ris radio vanning, stashu na nashun, viskull skelliena was stulish, Allen Vanning. Eisht as nish, then and now, a Manx traditional song performed by Bernard Caine, and on the harp it was Charles Gard. We'd now been 3 months in the island, and so far from increasing our little store, it had alarmingly diminished, and brought on a series of reflections not at all congenial with cheerfulness. The time of year, too, was ill calculated to chase away gloomy despondence. It was the dark, melancholy, suicidal month of November, which is said to hold such comity with the life of Englishmen. A succession of bad weather confined me to the house, and I wished myself once more among the busy haunts of men. A few days previous to our leaving Peel, the wind blew a hurricane, and brought the spray over our house in clouds, whilst tremendous waves broke upon the shore, with a report like the discharge of cannon. This was a scene to me entirely new, and as I wished to behold nature in all her various forms, I opened my door and stood wondering at the awful sight, when amidst the foaming breakers a small vessel appeared. Tref am I chit the valia, Sheire Hollisval, negatре shen, Gael, the vodach de chuljurid, na jaider our nedin je pertine choran fo scare do, ve fagnit the mai, Chau mi shilje bew soos an unjegain, as honnig mi kiaull Lucy, croma mach ass. Smunny mi fuddy the rawi gian ma hon, ma saw doshil mi ma vodal lau, as rem mi Claare. Herenny goil taast the jane a glacier a chorer be. Carter sen, ren and ray hollis snaum me geert cornele chrogel, as hutch and solace an unjeg. On shen de cronel, va Lucy, as a kiaull the lice hoos nai chow and liak unjeg, as na soulien ek dunch. Vi cadle de down. As liori, na hai a liak unjeg, va riddenach va jean gorish usheg je muds mai de lure. Va mi burrich de be furach regennek, ma so ren mi rai soos na Grecian. Ach hout henk mi stjaks a chamber, vi glacier back as a liabi, as ish cadle the down. Now this is the entry for France in the last Eurovision Song Contest we heard a little while ago now, but it's sung in Breton by ALVAN with support from the vocal trio AHEZ. It's called Fulenn.
Fulenn, treie distreien drodeien neudishaden. Tis pun kreizom jiguaden, etos a Fulenn, treie distreien drodeien neudishaden. Para
bon, Kreis Andigwaden, Etans Arfulen.
Fulenn, a spark, and that was ALVAN featuring AHEZ, an entry in Breton for France in the Eurovision Song Contest last time, and with the next Eurovision Song Contest being in Liverpool, as we know now, what about an entry in Manx, eh? Wij taren enel de troom. Wij kummel a laug as a scornach, maar de bergi code vain furid. Geren mi doeste, ach ren mi filje nisi de che. Ta mi een oil kereel de wel een dorres vol glas en zijn onje kjonnelt de sugar. Die jean gemillish gouds tien de kadle, ach tien de smoen niel en nach kajenek, as ta komme couch trai von de soeljenek nach William. Toen neem de valley burry heen mechoon riddenach. Salja me de vodins vet en maak kreve shen. Een huegulad jeg mi lunesen. Jiri mi na san mi na kajen. Lampenach for Lucy, a ski. As renny kadle sha en treve aim courage orin. Ve indris manre in son eg an Gael. Ta Arthur na share, as te giria vanished de gentle Ta Lucy ledden de voge tostach, as bogoilt en voirek as arisach eg an untre. Na san mi salai didn't she daw an or. Te siechnich, call Lucy mor a peche heen. It was struggling to avoid impending destruction that threatened every minute to dash her on the rocks, which appeared at a small distance, and towards which the wind, in spite of every effort, drove her. 3 men appeared on deck, whilst a female with an infant were lashed to the mast, and uttered shrieks, which in the pauses of the wind were dreadful and agonizing. By this time several people assembled, but no means of saving the vessel were proposed with the smallest probability of success, and every wave drifted her nearer the rocks, till a stout, brawny Irishman arrived with a long piece of cable tied to an empty keg. On the retreat of the waves he ran into the sea, and by an astonishing effort threw the keg on board, though not before another breaker had nearly overwhelmed him. A general shout from the people on shore followed this act of courage, and gave hopes of safety to the poor exhausted mariners, who otherwise would inevitably have been dashed to pieces. Three young fiddlers from Shetland, 12, 15 and 17 at the time of recording. I can tell you they're no longer 12, 15 and 17. They were called Swingin' Fiddles, bringing there the harvest home.
The Nation Station, Manx Radio.
Siodiw stasiwn yn asiwn radio fanim. As yn Claare sio, Claare na Gael. She Robert Cutting car romish, Robert a carslach.
Have you ever had tell about Bobby Bob?
It was now, by the timely intrepidity of one and the assistance of numbers, dragged to a safe harbour. The poor woman and her infant were carried on shore without the smallest signs of animation. I, however, ordered her to be put into a warm bed, and medical assistance sent for. But the latter could be procured no nearer than Douglas, and of course from the time that would elapse must be unavailing. At length somebody mentioned Master Carr. And here's the reason why we're not fidgeting off this time. I thought we'd better backtrack somewhat. I've mentioned before now that the section about Samuel Ryley's experiences in the Isle of Man is actually quite extensive, largely for descriptions of people he met and of incidents and conversations with them. So not so narrowly to do with the island itself. However, now that we've been drawn to Master Carr in this circumstance, let's go back and find out more about him. We did hear that Samuel Ryley had been out shooting game, and he shot a hare near Master Carr's house, and out came Master Carr to talk to him. Maso ta moir Lucy seichnich, call Lucy mar a perche heen, ach, ti goil bogad de be pech enjach ec de lia de chode. A ven vach wien willish. Dint she dow de folliachdach de wel barrentus beishek. Hanellia an inch der Lucy, as huggy orm cor gelden de geeltenis, dint je verliek de ginny, chamui je Mina reg a goed slew, gedden bees on shigeris, no de wel een kriek chit de venus ves. Treer be, nish, bun a shiger te de ginnach greindol taje marawi. Ah, vashin crina de frail voi cushion li aglach shen, as Lucy shul de cadla. And shachto le jeg me lunesen. Gin gi len rish sledden der lei. Charau criem de screw. Te gien de wel sorchen jach de waar weis ske duach chit herish a van sein. Gin naiach vai Jonathan. As te Lucy gien de vai chit de venus ves. Chaus de iru uren na mera chitkus jera. Chanel me tiggle an or to Lucy Liagacher ma saw. Well, on the week I saw a 1949 film called The Last Days of Dolwyn, the first film appearance of Richard Burton, speaking Welsh, I might add, as well as English. Amongst the music in the song was this song, A Deryn Pier.
Y deryn pyr ar adain las, bydd I mi'n was di brydar. O bras y brysiat y ferch, a roes I'm serch yn gynnar. Dos di ati dywed wrthi, mod i'n wylo dŵr yr heli. Ac yn nirad am ei gwelad ac o'i llawriad yn ffili a cherddad. O dyw faddeuawr hawdd ei llun am boeni dyn mor galad. sych mi sefais, yn rhwng halon mi feddyliais, weledd y nas, lan ar dernas a'i gwen yn hawlyr, oll o'i chwmpas. Ni fy'n swn gredyn dyn byw, nad oedd unrhyw anglas.
A Deryn Pier, sung by Ian Wynne Rowlands, who also played guitar, with Harriet Dears playing the harp and Jasper Salmon playing fiddle. Ian and Harriet, you may remember, were here for Chroniach a few years ago. Te gyd y mai as te cadled y mai, as te Gael solia jen ŵr. Ach, olio yn tret an y ros nons na llegan yn ec, liai sŵl. As te chit de Venus fes as smoel am penach, lei lei. So ni tam I clash ni skredder, mar de bech I son Tam I frail ach yn doris ein kiaull de kinjach rish mwanel molau fut na hi. Ach, te giri a shulmagit de chamber, as te na sai eg an unyag fáslich. Ryer, Henk me ori kroma maag tre ren mi Bousta, as tre hug me ber Bousta I gedad me. Vi een onniel. Tre henkeliam cor be no anji, vi gefeses ostje. As renny CAINE de kuun, et striuchen liaura 82 jaar nennel. Tre vraimi gi kree nacht henki de vei egen unjeg, renny kree kiaull as hindeir suli. Tam I tre stjel na velle chingus ori kunte brod me eiger sjenne frina sautje. Ich meer scornach kjart nish gouds we na lai na kadle. And Master Carr's first words to Samuel Ryley on seeing that he had shot a hare were, "What a detestable being is man, the persecutor and destroyer of everything that has life." He said a fair bit more in the same vein, and says Samuel Ryley, finished off by saying, "I hold no conversation with butchers," shut the door and bolted it. Of all the circumstances in my life, I never met with one that filled me with astonishment and surprise equal to this. In a country not celebrated for philosophers, in a cot, not much better than an English pigsty, sentiments were boldly advanced that would do honour to the man of genius, the man of learning, or the most profound moralist of the day. This man, buried amidst the wilds of ignorance and superstition, showed a degree of humanity and intelligence, the consequence of deep, unprejudiced investigation, which evinced a heart capable of the finest, the most acute feelings, and yet was nothing more than a Manx cottager. Well, we won't say any more about that. Off we go over the slough with the desperate figure of Illiam Bach, as described in song by the trio BARRULE.
Asa tu yen William Bach, Suri Oram, Harish's luck, Grad the deryn lesh, Mahui AHEZ station, the Fuzami, Vaki Kavel, Panya Ben, Vaki Hinech Makito, Hayat Bambulesh, and now in Teru Rosh, the pressure and land. Drop shoe nose, stella Jena on in een fagisteno Nog nach Kazerat mijn rol We schreven me kraken aan je ben Gauw ik hoor voorach me lauw Jerry on in een fagisteno Chinde de kuil van Illiam bach Skibi Illiam bach dat zo goed Jackson now in Illiam bach Lions shen for Dunbury Sue Shay and Mean and by Chin Shaw Pack and Chuck to run a survive
The murdering Illiam Bach receives retribution in that tale told by BARRULE. This singular being was a tall, spare figure, apparently about 50, dressed in a rusty black coat and a woolen nightcap, and from the monotonous buzz which issued through his ill-made door, I concluded he was a schoolmaster. And so Samuel Ryley asks his landlady, Mrs. Clark, about him. Mrs. Clark, he says, was fond of hearing herself talk, and you couldn't oblige her more than by questions upon any subject within her knowledge. When I described the person of the supposed schoolmaster, "Ah," said she, lifting up her hands, "you've met with that infidel Carr, the master, as sure as can be. He lives under the great hill, and though 2 miles from any neighbour, children are sent to him, because he teaches them for nothing. But parents should be cautious. His principles are dangerous, although, to speak God's truth, in spite of his enemies, many good children have come under his care. But he's a strange man, never associates with anyone but the scholars who he instructs without pay or reward." Te Gian the vel na lodden vier weg lenige, tad fors farslich, as sha weg Elian a smoon of a dry, as to na oiren jou beggen ben. Tad gurish punken begge ben a lesh main and jurgak. Man a vel het slenige jou stage lene re, nim shadoware de lietigen verlie cor Gael dau. As nish gus Arnelia. Screwen Samuel F. Billington as Mac, Turneren, Whitby, gus Messrs. Carter, Patterson as company, as Colucht, Lunning, and Chartole Jeg, me Lunison. Dania Sarah. Les Shaw, Coagy Masalju, Kuntus son Cooj Currit, Dorish Red Jarn Moora Hui, tan Cooj Gedden Shaw de Ve Currit gus Carfax, Fagus de Purfleet, geleerd hier Gedden on Station Cooj King's Cross. Egetrei Taunt and Tai Follum. Achs de goedach Shaw nish u fedden acheren, as le paid or woolju. Coagy na Kistchicken Masalju, as Jai as Dai Jawulju Coojach, vis Jinusus and Led, sa Troggle Beggen Toltenach, vis Jinusus per chain Tai. The hammered dulcimer played by John Ray from Carnalba in the Glens of Antrim, but he's playing music associated with an 18th century piper called Walker Jackson.
The Nation Station, Manx Radio.
Stasiwn yn asiwn to radio fanning as yn sio tasiw geisdiach rys Claare na Gael. She Robert Green Carswell tan en morm Robert a charslach mutta.
Have you ever had tell about Bobby Bob?
Te cawrich leis diagram garw leis sio. Ni yn jintach yw coren de heisiach nynid, nod yn ei sian chafal de tai mwre. Tan chwyd ffigael yw'r strain ag leawr lwg nai, noch, as tad schedulit ag King's Cross ag leawr lwg kier fast yn y ferach. As yn clientine giri libreus de fe jint chaleas vis possible, bimage bwysel diws on fwiran yn yewish de fe erlw ag King's Cross ag yn tre enmysich, as tiwl de immerca chwyd gysychion jornei. De chorsja cumrail lodus ve on rare famend cajin benten de ikus ons na fórain en jewish, ta sin chorsjach se chudach check jai punt, as gaurish masaliu de vel sin siu angedne. Ma vissen castus na sluna sjo for die siu corarashdun na vis amarn, na vis armarn. Ma vis een a smoon, je mus chilirach cordiu checks on a verna, lugt en clashen vau. Feg gin acheren tret out chit soel, ons haal je smoo a tie. All the rest of his time, says Mrs. Clark, is devoted to walking or reading heathenish and profane books, for he's a stranger to sacred things, and Mrs. Clark, as we know, is a staunch Methodist. He never attends church or meeting now, though some years ago he was very constant at the former. But one Sunday he behaved like a madman, interrupted the congregation and insulted the clergyman who'd just finished the Athanasian Creed, when Mr. Carr jumped up, said it was a lie, left the church, and has never been near it since. The people were much enraged, and it was feared would do him an injury. He remains unconverted, though he is a very good liver. Well, Samuel Ryley subsequently engineered an opportunity to talk with Master Carr, and they enjoyed a philosophical discussion. When we rose to depart, it was with reluctance. But then that Mr. Carr wouldn't agree to come and visit Samuel Ryley in Peel, though Samuel Ryley apparently was welcome to visit him at his house outside of Peel. Now, this is a song written by Mike O'Connor with the Cornwall Songwriters, referencing the Reverend Robert Hawker's Song of the Western Men, which is taken now for the Cornish anthem, Trelawney. But this is Mike O'Connor's song, which refers to that. This is called the Tregarton Anthem.
Give me a good sword and a trusty hand. These are the words that Parson Hawker sang, a tribute to this far western land, an anthem sung for every Cornish man. And here's the miner with his arm of steel, his back as strong as any pitted wheel. The granite kingdom he calls his own, it has a heart carved from the Cornish stone. Give me a good sword and a trusty hand. These are the words that Parson Hawker sang, a tribute to this far western land, an anthem sung for every Cornish man. And here's the fisher with his silver net, as fine a catch as you have ever met. But be he wealthy or be he poor, he's rich when standing on his Cornish shore. Give me a good sword and a trusty hand. These are the words that Parson Hawker sang, a tribute to this far western land, an anthem sung for every Cornish man. And here's the farmer with his plough to wield, his heart as gold as any harvest field. His only wish is to live and die on Cornish land beneath a Cornish sky. Give me a good sword and a trusty hand. These are the words that Parson Hawker sang, a tribute to this far western land, an anthem sung for every Cornish man. Give me a good sword and a trusty hand. These are the words that Parson Hawker sang, a tribute to this far western land, an anthem sung for every Cornish man.
Mike O'Connor and the Cornwall songwriters with the Tregarton anthem, mentioning their Reverend Robert Hawker's Song of the Western Men, Trelawney. Reverend Robert Hawker was obviously greatly interested in Cornish history. He was the rector of Morwenstow in the north of Cornwall. Amongst other things that he used to do, he used to go dress as a mermaid and sit on a rock, I think with seaweed wig for hair. Not quite sure what the intention was, but anyway, I'd love to have seen it, but there we are. So that was a song which referenced Reverend Robert Hawker's Song of the Western Men, Trelawney, but that was Mike O'Connor and the Cornwall songwriters with the Tregarton anthem. In the storm which almost led to the wreck of a small vessel on the rocks, a woman and her child had been aboard and were brought ashore unconscious. Now, with medical help from Douglas being out of the question, at length somebody mentioned Master Carr as a person well versed in the medical art, and who, being summoned, laboured with such industry and success that soon mother and child revived. This circumstance tended to exalt the schoolmaster still higher in my estimation, because I was fully convinced no inducement of less moment could have dragged him to the town. With all his fancied misanthropy, he was a philanthropist in the fullest sense of the word. Neither time nor season checked him, if pain or misfortune were to be alleviated. And those who were loudest in their declamation against the worthy man's general conduct and religious opinions hailed him as their saviour in the hour of anguish and distress. As an áchar an faggots of all shen, ní an shellú de gedden ad lug de golsjach sa tai, gin a wimid je cop dúblach an áchar. Na gin smunnion da sin gwy eriw, de vel sin gull erskin caglach cwrtoili de gelal, ons greinich isiw de yin a wimid je an dris smoo. Da shingen, Dania Sarah, lesh Firinius, Samuel F. Billington as Mac. Screwen, Messrs. Carter, Patterson as Colocht, Lunning, gus Messrs. Billington as Mac, Whitby, and Chidley as Feed me Lunison. Dania Sarah. Tashin skriw de grey de welshin goirish de doorshin jai punt, as de chora rast you check unfunt as schaachskillinen jeg as naiping, taus erskin castus, maar vis na heilse gemaag ons kuntus as vol lau les shaw. Tan goeds na livrei de girach sergen, as acheren faggot ons min jeg ons halje smoo, maar was sturet. Ta shingen Dania Sarah, lesh Aram, Pro, Carter, Patterson as Co. Well, this now is a blend of a Breton gavotte and another Manx traditional song, Ushti Melissa Geri, and it's by the Breton Manx project, I suppose you'd call it, NEEAR NESAN.
Sheila with all to do Yawanga, Sheila with the clever. Sheila with all to do Yawanga, Sheila with the clever. Don't forget never Sabbath, all another gone to Don in Nesa. Don't forget never Sabbath, all another gone to Don in Nesa. Don't do Dennis and Van now was on every Sabbath. Don't do Zendes and Van now was on every Sabbath. Come on, the Brazils and all be to Dormignon.
Illiam a close to William down me. She'll run to that Janora, Gael sky. Gone is by a castle, chip time at a bishop less. And Luster Milshagadi, a girl, my dead bed.
Ballon du Rhin et Wattet, la trine de Spespar. Et sa peine, un cas voudrait d'un dovi, pen mili ne gribe. Un cas voudrait d'un dovi, pen mini les gribe. Ballon du Rhin et Wattet, la trine de Spespar.
Some national you can't act it, I'll stay in a cover of my duties, and I'll look for my prayer. I'll just a milk and a girl, my dead bed.
I can never go on do a gary, I'll go night. I can then Baborash, there should go the one you fed. I can then Baborash, there should go the one you fed. But never go on do a gary, I'll go night.
And there we heard vocals by Laure Landau and David Kilgallen, with David on keyboards, with Thomas Moisson on accordion and Mira Royal on harp, the Breton Manx group NEEAR NESAN. As nish gus cach la elia sa fyrd sio, lior la Mina marish, and hartu la jeg mi lunason. Tammy man redu, as tammy skriw chaus tammy ma hais a rollick. Ta Lucy ford on a share the jarrow. Ryer, renny cardler na Ryer, renny cardler da mai, foot na he, as her renny burra me a chorer be. Having now caught Master Carr so near my dwelling, I took his arm, and he was prevailed upon to stay tea. I related the leading circumstances of our checkered life. My candid relation, I hoped, would produce equal confidence on his part. But, except informing me that his circumstances were better than appearances warranted, and that he was educated for the medical department, he wrapped himself up in reserve. Well, we'll look a little more at Samuel William Ryley's memoir next time. Now, currently FC Lorient, les Merlus, les Tango et Noirs, are currently second in Ligue 1, second only to Paris Saint-Germain. And that was after beating bottom of the table Brest today. I'm afraid Nantes and Rennes, who were also playing today, aren't doing much better than Brest. They're very low in the table. But les Merlus, Lorient FC, are keeping the Breton flag flying. This has become their anthem, The Lads of Lorient, Filles de Lorient, by Soldat Louis. In just a few moments, Chris Pearson will be here to share the best chill-out music between 7 and 9. At 9 o'clock, Judith Lay will be opening her virtual late-night lounge in Sundown. Nish. And so until the next time, this is Robert Cutting Carswell, Robert a Carslach,
Oh, Bobby Bob.
wishing you a very good night. I'm a crieri you as Orser as my Yirian shared you.
Au drapeau